Hi, I'm Eric Lanask. We're here in Santa Clara, California for our Editors' Days. Joining me in the studio now is Anders Weiden from BaseN. Anders, thanks for joining me. Great to have you with us.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about IoT, the Internet of Things. What I'm really curious to hear about is kind of BaseN's journey into the IoT world. How did you get there?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We kind of grew up as, I would say, a cloud-based next-generation provider of performance monitoring and fault management in a more traditional IP, ICT, and data center space. So going into large carrier customers, things like that was kind of our starting point in life. We set out from the get-go to be extremely scalable, so the solution lives in the cloud, always distributed across multiple servers, a very large set of servers these days. Fully resilient, everything is deployed in pairs. We do not have any downtimes. Any crucial connections are always very encrypted and so on, and it's a template-based and very modular system. But I would say over time, and our carrier customers, that space is still important to us. We have increasingly realized that we have a very big opportunity in Internet of Things and M2M and industrial Internet. And we also see now a lot of the new deployments and customers coming in from that angle, really, rather than the traditional IP ICT area only. And, well, that's really it. It's very exciting times. I think it's a very immature market in a way, so you actually have to be very opportunistic and prepared to shift all the time which type of IoT vertical you want to go into, be that, smart energy or healthcare or connected cars or agriculture. You have to be prepared to sort of test all of these things.
So certainly a very logical evolution for the company. How does your traditional your original product carry over into the IoT?
It's proven to be very modular, and in a sense, quite frankly, we did this because we could. So it was possible to add new data types that you can measure monitoring and actually control and do something with and automate and analyze. So that's kind of why we started off doing this. It's also proven more and more, I would say, in the IoT world pretty quickly, quicker than I ever thought, actually, that people are bundling together capabilities much more in more useful and smart ways, if you like, than we really thought maybe even 10 years ago. Example would be smart energy. Smart grids is almost becoming an obsolete concept now. It's not only about the smart meters measuring energy in the home, but you're moving into sensing other things. You're combining that with building automation too, security sometimes, and people's well-being, like CO2 levels, for example. So it's becoming almost like a smart home management solution rather than just focusing on one aspect.
So talk to me in a little more detail about your role in that process.
Myself, I'm the VP of Product Management in BaseN. It's a small company. It's a team of 50 people. We're growing quickly now. We're very dispersed across the world. Finnish headquarters based here in the U.S. as BaseN Inc., Delaware incorporated company. But we also have people living across Europe and driving engineering, for example, from Switzerland and operations from Holland, in the Netherlands, and so on. So it's a very dynamic team, has always been that way, and we collaborate across the 24 hours of the day whenever we need to, using a lot of web tools. And I spend time virtually and or in person in many different places, and it's pretty exciting.
Pretty exciting indeed.
Yep.
Where do you see your customer base from here in North America, Europe, or all over the place?
Both. We have grown up much more substantially early on in Europe, naturally, because that's critically where the company actually grew up. But we have made some very good land winnings here in the U.S. We're sitting here in Santa Clara in California Bay Area. A very old and known system integration company in the U.S., I won't give the name right now, are using us branded with their brand to monitor contract workers and contract tools. Everything from screwdrivers, hard hats to people wearing those things, to small lifts and stuff like that within the UCSF new construction area up in San Francisco. And we're monitoring all of that through RFIDs passively passing by short-range base stations. So they now know where things are at any given point in time. They didn't really have a good life managing that stuff before.
What do you do differently than your competitors in the market?
So we are relatively an important aspect. We are offering services in the cloud for developing new capabilities, managing Internet of Things and M2M much higher in the stack than, for example, Amazon. They give basic compute resources. You have to use the cloud services that they have, and you have to actually develop quite a bit on that if you're going to get to something that is useful. And people do that. Relative to that type of angle in the market and other competitors that they have, smaller companies, we come in much higher in the stack. You really do set up your portal with us, you log in, you create a few things, you need to do some scripting, but that's really it. You don't have to bring a whole bunch of code in-house and actually set that up.
Very interesting. Yep. Are there, you mentioned a number of different industries, vertical markets that are involved. Are there particular ones that you see investing more heavily in IoT right now?
Areas where usefulness have been early on identified very, very well has been things like in energy and healthcare and so on, and some others. Those are also the areas, however, where regulations are very tight. People are usually very careful, before they do anything, so they tend to move a bit slower, but we play there for sure, quite well as well. Areas where I mentioned, like construction site management, tracking tools, really no regulatory issues with that, right? So those things tend to move faster. Logistics, transportation. There's a whole bunch of very useful things that people can do, and actually problems they can solve by simply putting sensors out there and actually starting to know what's going on.
We're getting to a point where almost if you want to track something or you want to measure something, just do it.
Yeah.
Slap a sensor on it, and it can be done.
And that's exactly where we want to be, a platform for.
Very good. Anders, thank you so much for joining us here. It's been a pleasure hearing from you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.